Hello there, class, and welcome to the second week of our first module. So I hope that's not confusing. Each module that we have in this class will have 2 weeks in duration, and so we are entering the second week of the first module. I see that a number of you have gotten into the class. You found your way around the modules. You've started to enter in some content. I got an email last night after I sent my my brief email asking, does that mean that we didn't have to have anything submitted by last night? And for this first week, I guess the answer would be yes, that's what I'm getting at. In the future, we will operate on some different timetables, okay? So this first module, really the first week, just provides you an opportunity to kind of ease into the course. I know that everybody, especially with online classes, can potentially have some issues with books, and maybe this is even the first online class you've taken, and so I want to make sure that we do get to do just that and ease into the class itself. So if you have not yet entered your content, your responses in, that is okay. For purposes of this class, we are going to have, for this module, for this first module, everything in this module will be due by this upcoming Sunday at midnight, okay? So our modules will start on a Monday, and they will run through a Sunday. Now, I need you to hear this. I'm going to say this, listen very closely. The only exception to this will be the very final class, module of the class, okay? So the semester ends on a Friday evening at midnight. I do not accept assignments past that Friday at midnight, okay? So every other module will end on a Sunday at midnight except for the final week of the class. In that 8th module, it will end when the semester actually ends on a Friday at midnight, okay? So if it is late, 12:01, I will not accept it, okay? If it's late on Saturday, I will not accept it. Sunday, same thing. Has to be in the final module when the semester ends, due and submitted by that Friday at midnight. I say that because there's been some confusion, even though every document we have in this class, our syllabus, all the due dates in the class itself, everything that I have said will always dictate and will always kind of point to the fact that it is due Friday at midnight at the final Friday of the semester, okay? But again, every other module ends on a Sunday, the second Sunday of that 2-week module at midnight, okay? So what I want to do is I want to spend some time kind of looking through, again, we'll just start with this first module. And one of the things that you will notice is that if you look in the class, the only thing that's open to you currently is Module 1. Okay, and that's very intentional, all right? I had some emails that there were some issues opening the first article, the Career Counselor Assessment Evaluation Competencies. I rectified that very quickly, so hopefully you have no more issues opening that up. But you will see that in this first module, we have an instructor video. So this is the second video of the module. And I need you to make sure that you really do watch these videos. I have students all the time, they'll email me, they'll ask questions, and they're questions that I have covered literally the day before in a video that I posted. And again, as I've mentioned, I try not to post too many videos because I understand that videos are something that folks don't tend to enjoy viewing. So maybe you're going to listen to them, you're making dinner or something like that. But this information, this 15-minute bite-sized video that I'm sharing is very, very important and will definitely make I think your learning experience better. Will keep you from doing some things that maybe you didn't have to do. Sometimes I'll even spring some surprises and say, hey, this was due, but now it's not, or you have an extension, or whatever it is, right? So, and you won't get that content unless you watch my videos. So please make sure that you watch these brief videos, or at least, listen to them, right? So you're driving. Don't have it in front of your face as you're driving, but certainly, hit play as you're driving and listen to the content that I'm sharing in these videos, because this is my way of communication with you, because we don't have, as you know, obviously we don't have our face-to-face interaction that typically would take place in an on-ground class, okay? So this week we've got our, like I said, instructor video. You've got a video by Mike Rowe, and again, this is kind of a little bit of a graphic video, and I don't mean like graphic, like, ew, like, like graphic in some ways that we might think it's graphic. It talks about animals, I show the video, and I have actually for the last 9 years, because it's a very intentional choice that I make to show the video, because I want us to think about much like the backwards brain bicycle video, how we have, I think, in many ways, especially here in America, gotten things wrong from a work standpoint. How do we think about work? I think we're wrong. I also realize that in America, as we're talking about career choice, we're talking about career counseling and coaching, all these things that will be part of this course. This is not the norm, right? So a lot of countries, even a lot of places in America, choosing what someone wants to do for work is just not an option. And so we have to acknowledge that this is an opportunity that not everybody has. And so I think with that, you could use the word privilege. With that privilege that we have, I think, great responsibility comes with how we handle this. And so not just personally, but how do we help other folks? And we'll talk some later on about an approach called the communitarian approach, which is an interesting approach that some folks like and some folks don't like. But I think it's an important one for us to at least discuss, to think about what role do we want to play when it comes to helping other people that may not have the same opportunities that we do. All right. Then we have some introductions, so I'd love to hear from you. There's just a few questions in there. My favorite question to ask is, what's your dream job? And when I ask dream job, what I'm not saying is, hey, what's your dream job? And you say, oh, I want to be a therapist. Maybe that's your dream job. But for me, like my job, I love what I do. I love to teach. I love to work with students. I love to help folks with their careers and different options. But my dream job, if I could do anything, it's kind of one of those, if I could do anything and money wasn't an issue, what would I do? For me, it would be to be the person that picks the music for soundtracks. Music is a powerful thing, and if you pick the right music, it really sets the tone, sets the stage. It takes your mind places that if the wrong music is selected, you don't go. So I love that idea, and maybe someday, maybe in retirement, I'll be the person that chooses the music for soundtracks. Who knows? Then we have Schwen and Bass entry and discussion number 1. And so you can look in there, and there are some questions in there. And so I'm looking for some really thoughtful feedback. I would love for you to respond to each other. Some of you, though, may not have books and so forth. So this first week, this first module, really, we're just going to get into the swing of things. Okay, so what I'm really looking for is for you to respond to the questions. Okay, so each unit, each module, we will read some content from Schwen and Bass, which is that thicker book that I showed you, and then you'll respond to some questions. Again, you're not reading everything. It's all laid out for you in the syllabus. It's here in Canvas itself. And if you can, I would love to hear you interact with students, because really this is where a lot of the learning takes place. This peer-to-peer learning is going to occur by way of you responding to your classmates and them to you. Okay. Some of you may not have received the book. So if you didn't get a chance to respond by last night at midnight, which a number of you did not, please do so quickly so that we have opportunities to engage in conversation. Okay. This will be all the more important in coming modules, because you will be graded based upon not just your initial response, but upon your interaction with your classmates. Okay. So the Schwen and Bass entry and discussion is going to be you responding by the first Sunday of that module. And then you have to respond to the questions and engage and be thoughtful and put in some citations and so forth. And between the end of the first week of the module and the end of the second week, you then need to engage in conversation with at least 2 of your classmates on their posts. Okay, so let's say you write something and someone responds to what you wrote on your post. If you respond to them, which I hope you will, in fact you should, that is not you engaging with them on their post. Okay, you need to respond to somebody else's post 2 different times. Okay, and then when I say engage, I actually mean engage. Go back and forth in conversation. This is not just a, hey, I really liked your post, bye. No, this is actual thoughtful discussion and dialogue, much like it would be if we were in the classroom together. We're not, and so this is where a lot of that learning will take place. So ask questions, probe further, right? So ask open-ended questions so that folks aren't, yes, no, give me some more meat to the response to the questions, okay? So that's going to be, your response will be with 2 of your classmates between the end of the first week of the module and the end of the second week, okay? So if you want full credit, 3 points per post, you need to post by Sunday at midnight of the first week, and then you need to engage in conversation with 2 of your classmates by the following Sunday. So that's the second Sunday of that specific module. Okay. Then you have a case study. These are very short case studies, and the questions you can actually look to see where they are. They come out of the Tang text. Then there's questions in there. There's a page. There's a case illustration and so forth. and I need you to respond to those by the due date that is included. So this instance, it's due January 19th for this first one, okay? So you can get back in there and look at that. And then I need you to respond by submitting your well-being index results, okay? So not the paper. At the end of Module 2, you'll submit a paper in response to the actual assessment in the text. Right now, I just need your well-being index results, okay? As I mentioned before, please don't read the book prior to taking the assessment. Take the assessment first, and then write your paper, which is due the second module, but then read the book after the assessment. I don't want you to kind of give any bias to the way that you respond to that assessment, okay? So then if you can't see this yet, but in the second module, okay, you then have the Schwen and Bass entry and discussion number 2. There's some optional discussions, and again, just keep in mind they are optional. You then have your well-being response paper. You can see this all in the syllabus. This wasn't going to go live for you to view in Canvas until the start of the second module. I don't want you to be distracted by working ahead. I just want you to focus on the current module itself. And then you have your second case study, which again is due by the end of the term. You will find, as we get into Unit 3, that you will then have some additional work to do. You have your discussion from Schwen and Bass. You have your case studies for most of the following units. And these case studies will always be due at the end of the unit, okay? So the end of the unit, so if you have a 2-week unit, which they all are, your case study will always be due by the end of that module, okay? Then you have an exercise, and these exercises are exercises, 1, that you can use with clients, yes, but 2, you can use, in fact, for these purposes, you will use for yourself. This is why I say this class is not just, I think, important for you professionally as you're working with clients, but I would argue it's important for you personally as you're thinking about what is it that you want to do upon graduation and completion of your program, okay? So case studies are always due at the end of the second week. Exercises are always due at the end of the second week, okay? Your Schwen and Bass initial entry is due by the end of the first week of the module. Your engaged dialogue with your classmates is due by the end of the second week. And then when you get into Unit 3, and a number of the following units, you will read that brief little textbook by Liptak, and you will respond in a 3-2-1, okay? So based upon the reading from that text, what are 3 takeaways? What are 3 kind of, some aha moments that you got from what your reading was? What are 2 questions you still have? And then what's 1 immediate actionable item? So something that you learned that you can actually put into practice the very next day, okay? And this is due at the end of the first week of the module. And I know you're like, wait a second, this is so confusing. Just pay attention to the due dates. They're all in Canvas. They're all on the syllabus. And I will make sure that every unit, when I start a new module and I do a video just like this, I will tell you exactly what is due when, okay? So when I kind of, in the future, in coming terms or in coming modules, I will do kind of a rear view mirror, kind of this where have we been. So in the last module, we looked at fill in the blank. And then where are we headed, okay? So in the upcoming module, this is where we're headed and this is what is due, okay? So you have some articles to read, some videos to watch, you have some optional discussions, you obviously will have your Schwen and Bass entry and discussion, often you'll have your case study, you'll have Liptak responses, you'll have exercises, you'll have some assignments due. If you notice, though, in this class, the bulk of the work is not assignment based, right? It's a weekly, kind of a weekly module based assignments, but the big assignments, there's only one at the very beginning, right? This well-being response paper, and then the bigger ones are going to be your final projects, which are due at the end of the term. Okay, so I know I just kind of fire hosed you right there, but those are some logistics, okay? So if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I want to reiterate once again that for purposes of this class, because I give you so much time per module, 2 full weeks, I do not accept late assignments, okay? So if you're running late on something, you just didn't get to it that week, and you say, hey, can I have some more time? The answer is going to be no, right? If there's some extenuating circumstances, we can at least have a discussion, okay? But if it's just I didn't get to it, I'm sorry, I can't take a late assignment. And that's not me trying to be a jerk. It's just that there's just too much other work happening in following weeks. I don't want you to get delayed and kind of bogged down by trying to catch up on certain things. And it's not fair to the rest of the folks that got their stuff in on time. Okay? So if you have any questions, please let me know. You got my email address. You can write me in Canvas. I'm really looking forward to this class. Thanks so much for your contributions so far. And again, if you have not jumped in, make sure that you do so by the end of this week. Have a great week, and we will see you online.